All right, guys, we are live. I got 8:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. For those of you new to the stream, I'm going to cover about 15 minutes of market and 15 minutes of the ATA, which is the automated trading portion. So first, we'll talk about the SPX and the SPY. So I'm going to cover the SPX briefly because this one I do track the after hours candles, so you can kind of see where it's going. The SPX did have its double top up here. We did come down. We did have our failed retest, and we've just been kind of continuing to bleed ever since on the 21 SMA. If y'all remember yesterday, I think we were like right here. That's what I talked about. We had the double top. We had the failed rejection here off of the neckline, also off the 21 SMA on the 1 hour. And the anticipation is that we're going to continue to bleed in a downward motion. In order for us to become bullish, we need to flip this SMA here, which is the 21 day, and we want to close above it, hold some support, right, and then we can come back up to test those lines. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to bleed down into the 200 EMA, which is around 43.62. We could have a slight bounce here on the POC on the 1 hour, which would be about 43.74, give or take. So you can see that where we are right here, there is some volume in this area. Once we get into this area here, right, we're getting into a little bit of a gap, and that's why once we broke through, right, you see this big candle. We did find some support a little bit early around this side here. I would say probably the support was not from here. It was from on the other side over here. You can see it's the market basically testing what was once resistance, seeing if it can act as support. And so you can see it did try to gain some support within that. So there's some other things that you can look at here too, right? We can take some shorter scalping trend lines like this, right? And you can see it found some early support there. So we may come back down, hit this, find another support for some squeeze, and then have that break down through, right? So the thing that is more interesting I would like to see is if we do market open and we crash down a little bit more, I would expect a pretty good bounce somewhere in this area around 43.62. So just be really careful on your puts. I would trail them as you get closer to there. Now, if that pattern does play out, right, you're going to have a potential shoulder kind of head. You might get a little bounce off this EMA to create another shoulder. That would put us into tomorrow into market or so at creating that potential larger head and shoulder in the 1 hour. So we'll keep a close eye on that pattern, and I'll update you guys tomorrow to see how that's playing out. So if you look at the basic technicals, the RSI is pretty low. I mean, we're not really quite oversold. We haven't even quite hit our flag where it's too oversold, right? We've just been kind of hanging out here. Currently we're red. We had a little brief green there, but most part we're just kind of hanging out red on that. So gap fills kind of in the middle. We're at 50.49, so there's not much there, but we do have the purple on the top, so that's kind of indicating that we're still in that downtrend. So for a break up, I would look for some kind of volume push down. If we cannot flip this, right, a volume push down, if we come down too quickly, I would anticipate a nice little push back up from there, similar to what we had here, right? We pumped up, came down pretty quick, right, and then it hit it and then pumped up. I don't know if it'll be quite that drastic, but because we do have news Wednesday and Thursday. So my suggestion today is be patient, play the ranges. You don't want to get caught into a large contract going into tomorrow, because if you get caught in a large contract going into tomorrow and Powell says something that's not expected, it's gonna go against you pretty quickly. So as far as the range on SPY today, SPY's gonna been doing something similar, but you can see our pre-market is down 438.09. And that's down from 439.45, which was the close. On this one, you can kind of see, because it doesn't run the aftermarket candles, right? You kind of had that head and shoulder break. You also have our indicator called that double top. We did have a long call, but that was back here, so that actually played out all the way to TP4. The RSI is basically bleeding down. We're not quite in that oversold territory, but we're getting into that point, right? So when this market opens, if it does open negative here, that's likely to pull it down pretty far. This red line is something we want to watch. It's right where the pre-market is, pretty close, right? So if we do get a fall, I would anticipate a little support either on this red line, also because we had previous resistance here. But then I would look here. You can see at the 200 EMA right around 435 or so, 435.35. If we do break this red line, that's kind of where I would see that we would find a pretty good strong support, right, for a bounce up. So we typically want to look at the 1 hour. You can see here, also even here on the 1 hour, right, you can see kind of that shoulder head, right, that's forming. And this is what I was talking about. We could have that pull back down to around the 435 or so, find that bounce back up to about 438, 439, and creating that head and shoulder, right? And if that head and shoulder were to break, you look at the lower ranges of that where we kind of went up on that, it would likely break down to retest this EMA here, which is the 200 EMA in the 1 hour. So, which is what we've been talking about for some time, right? That we need to retest. If you look at the 1 hour on this one, we do have that bearish divergence. We did flip red, and we have been in an overbought for some time. So we do have some room to come down. So looking at the daily, this is something that I have been following. We are extremely overbought, and we have not flipped red. Just like we talked about last time, I think it was a huddle or 2 huddles ago. If you look at when the last times that we were this overbought, you can see by the time it flipped red, which was about here, right, we had a nice setup for a pull down. So I'm definitely watching this level. The moment I see a closed red on here, I mean, I would highly recommend you stay put. So because of how high we are in this range. Tech stocks, again, I don't typically cover these. If you want me to cover the tech stocks, you guys got to just come into the room. I'm happy to cover them in the room. Apple is slightly down. We talked about this in the room when we were trading, that we had kind of a head and shoulder forming on Apple that looks like it's starting to break out. The pre-market's holding support at the previous resistance. If it can hold this, right, we might get another bounce up. However, if it loses this and bumps below it and starts acting as resistance, then we're going to see further downside. Microsoft's down. Pretty much all of them are down except for Amazon. Amazon's slightly up in the pre-market. So keep in mind, guys, I've been saying for some time, all these stocks were reaching record highs and just driving up so much, right? And I don't care what's going on, right? At some point, you need a cool down, right? And when we get that cool down is when we're going to get the collective cool down, which will affect that SPY price. So just be aware on that. If you look at Bitcoin, guys, we have kind of a head and shoulder forming here on the 15-minute. So we want to kind of watch this neckline level. So if you just take your low neckline here, and we'll just kind of pull it up like that, right? So if we come down here and we break this lower level around 26,750, I would not say the break would drop us all the way back down to 26,300. What I would probably say is to watch for this bounce here on the 200 EMA. If we do break this neckline and it comes down, it's likely going to be, in my opinion, possibly a fake breakdown. It'll hit this 200 EMA and then push back up. If you look at our zone tracker, we have our low here on 26.4 and we have our high around 27.2. If y'all remember yesterday, I did a TikTok on it. It was pretty exciting. I always talk about in the room, it's exciting winning trades, but what is really exciting as a trader, for me at least more so than winning a trade, is being able to call something really close. Because when you call something really close, you're building confidence. When you build confidence, you're able to trade more. When you trade more, you're able to earn more. CK and I talk about this all the time, and he always asks about like volume on trading, things like that. And when I talk about it, he always says, well, why are you not trading this or trading that? And, I talk about it, although I'm trading enough to earn really well, right? I may earn $2,000, $3,000 on a trade. He earns, $13,000, right? And it's funny because he always jokes about it. He's like, well, it's the same trade. And it's like, my confidence is just maybe not quite where yours is, right? But you build that confidence as you go over time, because when you've done it for years and years and years, you look at it like it's going up or it's going down, right? And you're so confident that you can just throw insane volume at it, right? But if you're trading above your skill level and your confidence level, you're gonna just get wrecked, right? You're gambling with stuff. So you just manage your own skill level and your own confidence level. But yesterday, if you guys remember in the huddle, I had talked about somewhere in here that we were gonna hit about 27,000. I did a TikTok on it because it was so cool. I think I said 27,035 or something like that. And that was based off of, just I think it was on the 1 hour. What I did is I took, this peak and this peak, pulled it up, right? And so it hit really, really close. And then I said there'd be a rejection. And if you guys remember, after the rejection that we had, I did not think it was going to quite be this big, truth be told. I thought we would reject maybe somewhere around 26.6, something like that, and then pull up. So it came a little further than I thought. But after that rejection, my next target was 27.3. So I think it was 27.2 to 27.3, and so we actually hit 27 180, and then we pulled back. So two really, really good calls on that. Didn't really spend a lot of time in the TA too, so that's exciting for me, right, to have that. So, and I know some people traded that, so awesome job to those that did that. And let's talk about where we are now. So if you look at Bitcoin, we're at 26,881. Currently, we are blue on the 15-minute, meaning that we're heading north. You can see we had our long call, which played out phenomenally. It actually hit TP5 on that. So, could we have some further upside? I mean, yeah, because if you really look at it on the 15-minute, guys, we're above the 21 SMA. We're above the 200 EMA. We still have some room to go. We're green on here, right? There's nothing really showing me that we're going to crash back down. The only concerning thing is the fact that we have created a peak here. We have a higher peak and we have that lower peak, right? So if we do lose this and we break this neckline, then yes, we're going to be 100% bearish. If we can hold above this SMA or this neckline, I would suspect that we could continue to push up. But again, a lot of the technicals on the 15 are showing bullish, but that pattern is definitely worrisome, right? So I would like to see some support held, maybe a push above 27K, and hold some support up here, right, for me to believe that we're going to go up higher. The zone trackers, calling for a peak somewhere in this range right here. Remember, we do have this trend line. If you go to the 1 hour and you zoom out, this was that trend line, right? So it's a pretty strong trend line. So I would suspect that unless we break this trend line, right, our upper that we can see is around 27.2, 27.3. Our lower, we could come all the way back down as low as 24.3, 25, right? And so that it's a pretty broad range. I know that it makes it harder to trade, but the fact of the matter is, as long as that head and shoulder is still in play, I'd be really careful taking longs. If you're going to take a long, let it pull back a little bit and then take that long on the bounce, right? Because even our indicator on the shorter time frame has already called that long, right? So the next call is going to be waiting for that setup for that short. So if your entry is above 27.3, if we bump up to that range again, if you're on big get and you're trying to get out of some of those trades, you got to make that decision, right? Can we go higher? I mean, sure. If we break this trend line here, right, we're going to see a nice explosion north. I mean, which could get as high as this. I would say this level here first, around 28, possibly 27.5 would be the next stop. Because if you look, what was once heavy resistance, acted as slight support and then was back as resistance. So 27.5 is going to be pretty nasty resistance. So it would take some pretty bullish news for us to break that quickly anyways. So just play your range on that, guys. If you want to trade, come on in the room and we'll trade. I'll be putting out signals for crypto today as well as options. So on the 2 minute for ETH, we did have a long call. Looks like it hit TP2. Our upper range is 1750 or so. Our lower range is somewhere between 1720. It's pretty wide actually. So 1698 and 1720. So anywhere in this range, right, is our lower range. If I go to the 1 hour on ETH, let's take a look. So the 1 hour on ETH is a little bit lower. If you look at it, we had our fall, we had our reclaim. We've just been kind of trading sideways a little bit, right? So there's a potential that we could fall down if that head and shoulder on the Bitcoin does break south, right? Then that's going to likely pull this with it. Now, anything in here, if we were to break south, the cool part is anything in here, because we hit a low of 1620 something. So if we get into 1650, something like that, right, we're likely to break north pretty hard because that's going to still be a higher low. I'm not super convinced that we're going to fall here quite yet, because we do have some news that's going to be heavily impacted. And if you think about it, we ranged like this and then we fell, right? Now we've reclaimed that range, and that's literally pretty much all we've been doing is ranging in this same range. Now the difference between typically in trading, the difference between this one is we had our breakdown, we ranged over, right, and then we had our breakdown again. This reclaim is really strong, and we talked about this trend line back weeks ago that it was going to be pretty strong. I think it was 15th, yeah, so last week actually. We talked about it was going to be pretty strong. We did have a gap fill that it called, which it did fill perfectly. We still have a gap fill up here that needs a little bit. I mean, it did wick into it. But the difference is, over here, this is what is called like a reclaim of accumulating. And so, we had a pull down, we came over, we had our pump up, and now we're holding this. So some people can see this as bullish, right? Whereas after a fall like this could be seen as bearish because it does not have a strength even to come back to test the CMA, and that collapses down. So a lot of times in this type of setup, you're going to see the down over down, reclaim over reclaim, right, is what ends up happening a lot of times. So I would say the upper, around 1830 is very, very possible over the next day or so. And then the low range, I'd say, is somewhere around 1640, something like that. So if you're anywhere in this range, you're going to want to try to stay long. You're anywhere in this range, you're going to want to flip short on that scalping. So for the short term on the 1 hour, we are a little more bullish than we are bearish. So be really careful for that because once that pops up and says gap fill, then we're likely to see that pullback. So on the short term scalping for ETH, I think I already talked about this one. Yeah, I took the long TP2. All right, so let's talk about the ATAs, guys. That's kind of what I got for there. So let's take a look at Aave long. Let's see how we've been doing. All right. Aave's looking good. So 6 days, 129 bucks. This was the trades. We're actually not in a trade right now on Aave. You can see it just continuously pushing up. This is what we talked about when I made that decision to let it run, because if you go to the 1 hour, what we had talked about here is that, we had some strength here that bounced, and then we've just been kind of pumping up. Now, the only concern I have slightly with Aave is we do have this kind of fall, and then we have this on the 1 hour, we have this kind of rising channel going up here. Sometimes those can lead to another potential fall, but I can play this based off of Bitcoin because Bitcoin is going to kind of lead that charge, right? I'm going to go ahead and for today, I'm going to stop Aave because for the copy trade because we are already out in profit here. I know some people are trying to work themselves out of trades and stuff, but also we do have news coming into tomorrow. So I'm just going to pull back from Aave. So all we'll do is delete that long. We'll take our profits and we'll run. So we're still running 1, 2, 3 pairs, right? Going into the news event tomorrow. This will make us pretty balanced for tomorrow. So I'm okay with that. So no changes on Aave. Let's go to BTC. There it is. And let's take a look at our long. So our short probably DCA'd, so we'll also talk about that. Our long did really well, 3 days, 151 bucks. You can see here's all the trades that it's taken. You got your, close DCA perfectly here, got out. Buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, right? So we're currently not in a long on BTC. I could close that, but again, if you think about the overall grand scheme of things, right, 25, 24 has been our low. 31 has been our high. We're in the lower range. I actually feel more comfortable taking the long than I do the short. So I don't want to really kill that. Plus, if you think about it, everything in the ATA is about balance, right? And so when you're fighting that balance, you don't want to be heavy into a short and not be earning on your long. Because we are second DCA'd into our short, we want to continuously add our long, because worst case it drops down, we get out of our short, and we're only one DCA into BTC, right? So we can pull that entry down. It's all about moving the entries. Now look at our short. This played out almost perfectly so far. Guys, this is what I was trying to do. So if you look at what it did to my entry, we moved from 25.1 all the way to 26.2, right? That is what we wanted to do. So far, it was a great placement. If y'all remember, I kind of struggled where I wanted to put this. It looks like it hit it perfectly, because you can see we wicked down below, didn't capture it, came up, it literally hit the peak so far, and pulled down. So a pull down to about 26.2 would get this ATA out for that, and it would be really in some great profit. So we will not touch this one until it gets either out of profit here, or we get a heavy push north. Like, I mean, I would have to get to like 28.5 or maybe even a little higher before I would even touch that one, right? Because we're already second DCA in that. But if you remember, I was really patient on waiting for the second DCA, because we really wanted to move that entry well above this this yellow line, right? So that way, if we do have our pullback retest, you can see our entry is really close to what was support here, right? So we'll have to, hopefully we get a nice wick down below that if we do pull back, which, this would need that head and shoulder to pull back for that to play out. So but we're going to go ahead and leave that as it is. So far, so good. Let's take a look at ETH. ETH looks like it's just been going pretty much sideways. So the short has not done anything, because it really hasn't done anything. It's just mostly sideways. We had to get to about 1830 before we moved the entry. So we're just kind of hanging out on ETH. The entry is getting a little bit of ways away, but we want to be really patient on where we place that second entry on ETH, because ETH I didn't like, if you guys remember, doing too early, because it was literally setting up for what could explode north, and it still kind of is, right? So we just want to be really careful on that. Now the longs are still earning. We have 3 days, we made 81 bucks. We're currently in a long, which is right at our entry. You can kind of see here's the trades that it's been doing here. So so far so good, right? It's done some great DCAs. DCA'd here, pulled back a little bit more, but it got out actually in really good profit, like TP probably 3. Took another long, and it's currently in a long that's not very deep. So looking good. So I'm not going to touch ETH. Let's take a look at LTC. So let's look at the long. All right, so long in 3 days made 123 bucks. You can see it did take a long here, got stuck a little, DCA, got out. Since then it took a long, got out, 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 took a long, and got out. So we are currently not in a long on LTC. Let's see how the short is. So we are currently in a short right now. So what I'm gonna do, let's see. I think that I'm going to set up this. So what we're gonna do, guys, just for tomorrow's news, I'm gonna take LTC and I'm gonna stop the long, right? So we're gonna go LTC long, and I'm just gonna delete the alert. And then what I'm gonna do is my short, I'm gonna set this up as an existing, so that way it doesn't, because it's literally like at the entry, right? So if you guys have not, I haven't done this for a while, so this is why I'm okay doing this to kind of show you guys. So when you're setting up the existing, you just find the candle that it took the trade on, which is 417, and remember, you go 1 minute back, and that's on the 20th. So we're gonna go here. All you have to do is change this to 416, and then you just change this to today, and we're gonna uncheck close and make it an existing trade. So why would I do that? Changes that teal. Once this is teal, what that means is once it gets out in profit, it will no longer trade again. It's just gonna stop. So once I do that, all I have to do is delete the alert, and then I come in here and I add the alert. And we're going to call this one ATA LTC short existing. We'll say exist. All right. And then that's going to scale us down just a little bit, guys. Likely it'll get out of that short today. And then that'll give us 2 pairs to let run into tomorrow's news. We'll see what Powell says for the first day, and then I'll make a determination on what direction we want to go from there. So just kind of hanging out, making sure we get that alert to pop up because I don't see it yet. There it goes. So ATA short LTC existing. So we're good. And it's that simple to set it up. In the last 5 minutes, guys, I wanted to touch briefly on the ATAs and BitGet as far as also some of our plans that we have coming on. So many people that are trading in the U.S., we have both people in our community that are in U.S. and are out of U.S. There seems to be confusion on BitGet. There's a lot of people who got an email on the U.S. saying that they are not supposed to be trading on BitGet and they have to move their funds. If you are in the U.S. and you did get notified, yes, we highly recommend that you move your funds off of BitGet because you don't want to be in a situation where you lose access to BitGet, right? Which in a sense you lose your funds. If you are trading outside of the U.S. and you're in a zone that you can trade BitGet, keep trading it, right? And if you're not trading it, if you're on TikTok, I highly suggest you do because you guys see it's very profitable. BitGet is not going anywhere. It's just, technically in the U.S., right? Unfortunately, our laws don't allow us to trade on those leverage, right? And with the lawsuits coming down with Binance, lawsuits coming down with Coinbase and all this stuff, right? They're just some of these out of U.S. exchanges are cracking down a little more on their KYC stuff, right? So, we're not going to stop doing the ATA on BitGet just because they're not doing it in the U.S. So if you're outside the U.S., don't worry about it. I'm going to keep doing the copy trade. Your eyes are welcome to follow. Or if some people are dual citizens, right? You guys can prove KYC outside the U.S. We're going to keep doing the copy trade. So, because honestly, the product that we've created in BitGet, many of you who are in the U.S., you guys know, this thing just absolutely kills it. And so we're not going to throw away a good product just because we can't do it in the U.S., right? But the good news is we have a solution for U.S. For those of you guys who don't trust crypto or you love options, you love stocks, Forex, futures on stocks, we actually have connected to tastytrade. As far as our API connection, we have successfully initiated trades on both options and on Forex. And so our intent as a resolution to help you guys be able to have an automated trading assistant in the US, we are going to be incorporating tastytrade. So when we incorporate it, it's going to be a full incorporation of anything that they offer. So we're going to have a ATA that allows options trading. We're going to have an ATA that's going to be doing Forex and futures. And so we are currently working on that. Just please be patient. We're, as you guys know, some of you that have been around for a while, we work pretty quickly on that stuff. So I plan on trading till about 11 or so today, and then I'm going to meet up with Alex, and our plan is to just pound it out this week. Some people are asking timeline wise. We're going to do it as soon as possible. It could take, by the end of this week, right? If everything lines up how we believe it could be a week away, right? Could be 2 weeks away. I don't think that it's going to get into months at all. People have messaged me say, well, what do I do in the meantime? My suggestion to what you do in the meantime is you learn how to trade, right? Continuously show up we're still trading, guys. We're not just an automated trading community. We have buy sell signals, we have automated trading, we trade options, we trade crypto, we put out signals. We have so many other ways to earn money. You just have to find that avenue right within our community. So and if you guys have any questions, you're always welcome to ask in the trading floor. Also, you guys, anybody, including you guys on TikTok that is a member, even if you're a free member, you guys can come into the Google Meet and ask questions, and we'll be able to answer them to the best of our ability. So that's kind of really all I have. On that, guys, I don't have a magic answer for anything. It definitely sucks that in the U.S. they don't allow you to trade on leverage. It's kind of funny. I was talking to someone the other day. you can't trade on leverage because they're so afraid of, the amount of money you can, lose. But you can go to a casino and drop 20 grand in like 2 seconds, and boy, they're happy to take that money, right? Don't be fooled. This has nothing to do with the fact that they want to protect you from trading on leverage, and everything to do with the fact that they don't want you trading on leverage in an exchange outside the US because they can't get any piece of that pie. So it's all about them, and not to help anybody. So, but the good news is, if you guys have been around in our community for a while, and some of you have, you guys can back me up. We always rise to the occasion. We always adapt, right? And we're continuing to grow. Our goal, which we've, I believe, accomplished, is to create a one-stop shop community where you can do everything, right? Automated trading, live trading, automated tools. Our tools, apply to other exchanges. We have KuCoin, we have Coinbase, we do have Binance, Kraken, all those, right? So, it just, unfortunately, BitGet was our most profitable one, right? But again, if you're outside the US, keep on keeping on, right? So, but it is 9 a.m. Appreciate you guys' time. I'm going to go ahead and cut off the community one here. TikTok Hangout, I'll answer some questions here for a little bit. If you're trading in the room, I'll open it up about 9:15 or so. I'll see you guys soon.